afternoon, Carina. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Today we're going to talk about what sight means to you. And I have a few questions that I would like to put to you. Many sight members will know you as the immediate past president of the Sight Foundation and a dedicated volunteer. However, IMEX has been fortunate to have a long history of involvement with sight, and notably a past president in our former managing director, Paul Flackett, and our chairman, Ray Bloom, serving as both trustee and more recently as treasurer for the Sight Foundation. Interestingly, Sight was also the very first trade association that Ray partnered with when launching EIBTM back in 1987 in Geneva. So it's quite a legacy statement to the importance of the work of Sight and the Sight Foundation. And I'm curious to know what it is about Sight, Carina, that inspired you to join, and more importantly, to volunteer.
Yes. For that, Tash, and yes, it has been quite a legacy of involvement, really, of my father Ray, Paul Flackett, and then myself over the more recent years. I think initially, I joined Sight back in 2003 when I first joined the industry, and that was really on the instigation of Ray and Paul, who said, you really need to get involved with Sight. It's one of our most important trade associations, and it's one of the most important sectors in the industry. And so I joined Sight at that point based on that recommendation and based on them explaining the necessity really for us as an industry to really support and understand the specifics of incentive travel. And it takes a while, to learn the difference between incentive travel, conferences, meetings, all the different conventions, all different types of business events that are out there. And you can only really do that by being involved in the different trade associations, learning, attending sessions. And then in the more recent years, I was encouraged again by my father Ray to join the Sight Foundation, and that was really because he said that it was an amazing experience that he had had, and he wanted to encourage me to join and have the same learning experiences as he had had as a volunteer. And again, I did that, and it really has been an extraordinary 6 or 7 years.
Absolutely. And so wonderful that you could both have that experience, very rewarding, but also, there's a lot of effort that goes into it as well. And Sight is a really global family, isn't it, with over 90 countries represented. So I could understand that very international membership would appeal to you, because after all, IMEX, although we are not an association, we also serve a very global community. Was that part of the appeal in getting involved?
Certainly. I think that's part of the appeal for many people that join Sight, because it is truly a global family and a global organisation. And that's one of the unique features, I think, of Sight. It's not the biggest trade association in the industry, but it probably is the most global. And so certainly for me personally, that was interesting, but certainly for IMEX, of course, where we have exhibitors that represent 150 plus countries, that's really also a very important part of the partnership that we have with Sight. And of course, it's exciting, isn't it, when you have members representing really all parts of the globe and really getting a different view and perspective from all parts of the globe. It's really rewarding, but also really valuable, I think, for us as an industry, that we can learn from each other and really understand the nuances of what's happening in different countries and different regions.
Absolutely, and that diversity is part of the beauty and the strength of our industry. I recall a few years ago that you were preparing, I think it was to go on a Sight Foundation board retreat to Rwanda. It was a really terrific opportunity, and I myself was very excited and also a little jealous. And I remember in a kind of fit of hubris giving you a copy of Gorillas in the Mist so that you could read it on the plane. And I know that Sight, part of the beauty of it is about creating exceptional experiences. And my goodness, that has to have been a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, so Site actually has this wonderful tradition of not only having members from right across the globe, but supporting members right across the globe. One of the things that Site Board and the Site Foundation do every year, we have done it most years except for the last one, of course, is something called the Site Executive Summit. And the idea of the Executive Summit is to go into an emerging destination, or a destination that's coming out of a tough time, and go in there and support the industry there. So part of it is about doing education for the industry. It might also be about advocacy with the local policymakers and politicians. And then part of that as well is that the destination shows those members of the board and the trustees and the membership that have gone in there to do that education, gives them an experience in the destination so that we can also promote that for them. So it's a multifaceted event. It's quite contained and small. So in some years, the whole site board and the whole of the trustees have gone. Where it was Rwanda, it was actually just a select group of about 9 or 10 people that we felt could really support the destination in the best way for them. And we've gone to Rwanda, we've been to Turkey, that was when we went to Istanbul and Cappadocia, we've been to Dubai, we've been to Slovenia before my time, we also went to Egypt. So there have been some really, in Dublin as well was another one. So the events are very tailored to what the destination requires. But you're right, Rwanda was an extraordinary experience. We had time to do education with the local incentive travel community in Kigali, or they came to Kigali for that. We also had time with the politicians at the beginning of the trip and at the end of the trip, really explaining the value of incentive travel, and they wanted to understand better from the site members there how they could really improve their product offering to appeal to the incentive travel market, because Rwanda had done a lot of work in setting up their convention center and their convention bureau and becoming the third top destination in the eco rankings for conventions in Africa, but they hadn't yet really broken into the incentive travel market. And so that was really the purpose of us going in. And so they wanted to show us around the different facilities and the different regions they had, so that at the end of the trip, we could feed that back to them. So it was extraordinary. And I think I have learned a huge amount in going on the executive summits, not only in terms of with the destinations themselves, who of course are our clients and exhibitors, and we don't usually get a chance to immerse ourselves in those destinations in the way that you do on these executive summit trips. So that's been really valuable for me personally, to really get to know those clients better and to get to know their products really better, their destinations. But it's also just been an amazing way to support those destinations as well. And I'm just truly grateful to each and every one of them, really, for showing us such hospitality and kindness, really, when we've gone into those. And of course, it's helped me also to understand incentive travel better, because again, we're trade show organisers, we represent the industry, but we don't organise incentive travel trips ourselves. And so those exec summits have really shown me what an incentive level experience truly is and what it means to organise one. And so that's been really valuable learning experience for me as well.
And especially that you were able to give back to the destination. So there they are hosting you, giving you wonderful hospitality, providing you with a once in a lifetime experience. But also, it goes two ways, and you're actually giving back, giving expertise. How can you position your product? And obviously Rwanda have a fantastic product. And I believe they're probably doing quite well now in the incentive rankings.
Yes, I certainly hope so. They've got an amazing product there, but certainly, some of the site members who are there, who are more on the buying side, were able to give them really fantastic insight. We, of course, as site, as the Site Foundation, do the Incentive Travel Index research, so we were able to share that with them, and we were able to get to know the politicians who are really influential in the policymakers and help them understand the nuance, really, the difference between luxury travel and incentive travel, or conventions and incentive travel, and that was really important as well. But as you say, I think it was really important for us to give back on each and every one of those executive summits that we do, and make sure that they get sort of both short-term but also long-term benefit. And I know anecdotally that many of them have won business as a result of those trips. So that makes us feel great, because the destinations have put an extraordinary amount of effort and resource into hosting us. And, you know, we're immensely grateful to them for that, but it's really important that as an organisation, Site is giving back.
Now, volunteering, you know, so that what you've just described is one of the benefits, that you get to have these exceptional experiences. They are hard work, but volunteering is both extremely rewarding and also a considerable commitment, which is not to be undertaken lightly. So what advice would you give to others that are considering volunteering and actually rolling up their sleeves and getting their hands dirty?
I think the advice would be that, you know, if you're going to get involved and if you're going to get the most out of a trade association, Site, or any others that you join, that you do need to understand that you need to roll up your sleeves, volunteer, and you know, really put the work in order to get the results back. If you just simply attend events and do some sort of superficial networking, of course you can meet people and it can be rewarding, and you can learn a lot, but to really get to know people in the industry in a different way, to get to know the breadth of the industry and understand what different people or organizations do in the industry, and how that really fits together. I think volunteering in a deep way is really the only way to do that. I certainly have got much more out of volunteering at the board level than I ever expected to, because it's a slight intangible, isn't it? Nobody can really explain exactly what you're going to get out of it, and everybody's experience is unique to them and the people they volunteer with and the issues that they have to tackle as a result of the timing that they're volunteering. But I would just say it's worth it. That would be my biggest piece of advice. It is worth it. It's worth putting your own personal time into it, because you really will get a lot back. And I've learned a lot that I've been able to take back into our business as well, because even when you just experience leadership from different people outside your organization, you learn a lot by watching them. For example, the first Site Foundation president that I had was Kurt Paben for 2 years. I had Denise Dornfeld for a year, Rhea Stagner. Past presidents for a couple of years was Jane Schultz. You know, I learned so much from those people, from watching them and learning from them, that I tried to sort of put back into what I was doing as well. So yeah, so you know, I think there's just so much to learn, and amazing friendships as well that I've gained, which are not superficial. You know, it's not just from meeting someone from for a drink twice a year, but actually, you know, getting your hands dirty and doing hard work with people means that, you know, you really get to know them and they get to know you. So that's really what I would say, that it's worth the hard graft, if you like. But I would say that the Site community are just so incredibly active, and we've seen that in particular over the past year, COVID. You know, how many activities the chapters themselves has done, how active our chapters are, and our leadership at the chapter level is just actually extraordinary, really inspiring as well. So I know that the people watching this know what volunteering is about and what hard work is about.
And when it's meaningful work and when it is good work and it comes from the heart, I think that is the key thing, and that is what sets Site apart, I would say, is that it's all about the people, it is about the connections, but it's also about the legacy that Site can leave and that incentive travel can lead. And that leads me into my final question. And the reason I want to ask this is because, you know, incentive travel, the I in MICE, is the fastest growing sector of the business events industry. but it is sadly often, overlooked by the wider industry. And it is sad that that happens, but I wonder if you could, in a nutshell, just say what it is that's so special about incentive travel and why, as an industry, we really ought to pay more attention to that eye.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're quite right. It is a smaller segment of the industry. So I guess it's natural in a way that the larger segments can overlook it. And it's more different probably to other business events. So again, if you're not in it, it's harder to understand the nuances of it and what it really means. But incentive travel is just so powerful. It's such a powerful motivator. It's also the highest per participant spend, as you said. Certainly before the pandemic, it was the fastest growing segment. And I believe that it will be again, once we can get back to that. Because I actually believe that due to the pandemic, incentive travel will make a really big comeback, because if you think of what people have really truly missed, it is extraordinary experiences and it is travel. And that's what incentive travel provides. It's not any old travel. It's sort of those money can't buy experiences that are transformative. And it's that really drives recognition and motivation and loyalty with staff or clients. And so I think people will understand that even more after this pandemic, when all of that has had to stop. And that's really why I think it would be good for the wider business events industry to understand that more fully, because actually there are elements of incentive travel. It's about that experience and driving that experience, which we can all learn a lot from. And the creativity within the incentive travel sector is just so huge and so special. And actually other business events can learn a lot from that. So it'd be great to kind of see that coming together, that understanding being more robust.
Absolutely. And as we hopefully begin to emerge from the great pause, it is those experiences that are going to be so critical. And, we will need to design better experiences, provide more ROI for our events. And I know that you and I, our team, our wider industry are desperate to get back to being able to see each other face to face. And many of the people watching us will be looking forward to Site Night when it is actually back in person in Las Vegas. I'm sure, that can't come quick enough.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more, Natasha.
Thank you, Carina, for spending a little bit of time with me, and for everybody who's watching on Site Night, wherever you are. It's a huge thanks from me and from Carina.
Thank you very much. And enjoy Site Night all night, and we'll definitely see you in Las Vegas in November.